So today I've just finished reading a book that was given to me by my partner. It's called Digital Minimalism: Choosing a Focused Life in a Noisy World, and it's written by Cal Newport. And in the blurb it says that this is a timely book where Professor Cal Newport shows us how to pare back digital distractions and live better with less technology. He introduces us to digital minimalists, the calm, happy people who can hold long conversations without furtive glances at their phones or obsessively documenting everything they eat. I feel like he's firing some shots there. And reveals how to live more intentionally in our tech saturated world. Now, I'm not someone who spends a lot of time with my phone or social media and all of these aspects. So when I did pick up this book, or when it was given to me, I was asking my part, I was asking myself, what am I really going to gain from this? But one of the different changes that I noticed that I did today is normally when I go for my shopping trips, I take the car, load up the car with as many of the stuff that I need, go with a shopping list. But I was just like, you know what? Following some of the principles and some of the ideas that he's putting out here, let me go for a walk instead and go to the shops in a walk with just two shopping bags. And I found it interesting how even that slight change in our behavior, and that behavior for me in that instance, completely changed the way I went about my shopping trip. I was more intentional with all of the items I was buying, knowing that I only had two bags and I was going to walk home with all of the items. And I guess the walk in itself was also just a bit of nice exercise, fresh air, use that time to catch up on the phone. And these are things that wouldn't have done had I just went for a quick drive, picked up, loaded up stuff. It would have just been more of a mindless shop, I guess. And everyone's going to get different things from reading this book. When I shared that I've read this book with another friend of mine, based on the title Digital Minimalism, I think we jumped to that conclusion of it's a sort of anti-technology book and a way to reduce how we interact with our digital technologies and phones and so on, and which it is to a certain extent, because of one of the tools that he discusses in there, the main rationale of how we approach this digital minimalistic life. But I think for me, if there's one quote that I can really take away from this book that almost encapsulates this idea of why we should maybe approach this idea of digital minimalism, it's within this sort of paragraph here, which I'll read out to you. So he says, in my experience, the key to sustained success with this philosophy, so the philosophy being one of adopting digital minimalism, is accepting that it's not really about technology, but is instead more about the quality of your life. The more you experiment with the ideas and practices on the preceding pages, the more you'll come to realize that digital minimalism is much more than a set of rules. It's about cultivating a life worth living in our current age of alluring devices. And I found this to be a great book. Like I said already, I think I've got a fairly okay relationship with technology already. I'm not someone who's constantly scrolling, someone who gets lost in my phone as much. I guess one area for me to potentially work on is looking at creation over consumption. But basically, there's a lot of principles within this book, and it just made me think about the point that I was talking about yesterday, how already with my New Year's resolution, I fell off the bandwagon. And it just made me think about, why do we even set New Year's resolutions in the first place? Why do we have goals? Why do we have habits? Why are the behavior changes that we're trying to adopt? And ultimately, it is that idea, isn't it? Is we want to have a better quality of life. And this is a book that I'd also therefore recommend for anyone who does want to improve their relationship with technology, and so on. But even if you feel like you've got a good relationship with technology already, I think I'd recommend it more for the changes that I've noticed within myself, and how the intentionality that we use when we're using technology, our phones, computers and everything, can actually spread out into all of the different areas of our life as well. Such as me, for example, going for a walk for my shopping trip today instead of taking the car. And I know I've just sort of vaguely touched on some of the ideas here. I have made notes whilst I was reading this as well. So I'll try and find a way of sort of compacting all of that and then sharing those ideas here with you. But in the meantime, if you're looking for a book to pick up, or if your goal is around being more focused around your use of your phone and social media and all of those things, I definitely recommend this book. It's well written, it's got a lot of good ideas in there, and more than the ideas, I think what I really appreciate about a non-fiction book like this is actual practical advice that we can use to implement into our lives, and hopefully to try and bring about a better quality of life and a better way of doing things. So this is going to be my first book recommendation. I will try and, like I said, put together the notes that I've collated from reading this book, which might be of help and use to some of you guys. But I'm also really curious to hear what some of your book recommendations might be that you've recently read, something that you think would be a good read, because one of my goals is essentially to read a lot more this year, and I'm just curating a list that I'll be sort of narrowing down and focusing on. So yeah, if you have read this as well, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are, or once you've read this, to hear what your thoughts are. So hit me up with that. Until then, hope you've had a good day and all the best for the rest of the week.